In this episode of Don't Bother Wearing Seatbelts, the gang speaks with Elf Power auteur Andrew Reiger about a new release on his Orange Twin label that is actually a bit of a time capsule, but also not. Leap Through Poisoned Air is a collaboration between Elephant Six stalwarts Will Cullen Hart and the aforementioned Andrew Reiger that was recorded more than 2 decades ago, but finally mixed and mastered in the last couple of years. This is future music from the past that somehow sounds quite timeless. We don't know. Just give the episode a listen and get back to, well, not us, but everyone you know, about this remarkable 10-inch EP.
All right. Well, we have Andrew Reiger here to talk about the W. Cullen Hart and Andrew Reiger album, Leap Through Poisoned Air. Now, this is a 4-song EP that you made this many, many years ago, and it just now saw the light of day.
Yeah, most of these songs were recorded like between 1999 and 2001, I think, when Will and I were roommates in the house on Reese Street that he lived in up until his death. You know, he was there for many, many years in that same house, but I lived with him for only like 2 or 3 years there. So yeah, I mean, when we were roommates, we would record together sometimes. And so yeah, those songs were just songs that Will did all the music for, and then he gave to me, and then I came up with the lyrics and the vocal melodies. I think our plan was always to do a full album, but you know, we were both so busy with our other projects, me with Elf Power and him with Circulatory System, that just never really we just, after I moved out, we never ended up doing any more songs. And so yeah, it's kind of bittersweet for me to listen to it, because I think those 4 songs sound really cool, and it just makes me wish that we had done a full album, you know, that it had been a more complete project, because I think it would have been really great. But you know, it's what we have, and so I just felt like that I wanted to share it with the world, because I know Will always liked the songs, and Kelly Hart, Will's widow, was happy to put it out. That she thought it sounded really cool, and she hadn't heard those songs in many years, and so she agreed that we should put it out. So yeah, I'd always wanted to do a 10-inch record, and so I thought this would be kind of the perfect way to do that, you know.
I just wanted to jump in real fast before I forget. This is Rudy. I was going to say that I'm really sort of like, my mind is being blown by the fact that these songs were actually recorded, you know, essentially like 25 years ago. I knew that they weren't like recent, but I figured like 5, 6, 7 years maybe. and then just getting around to it just because both people involved are fairly busy with other stuff. But it sounds really good. I mean, just the sonically, it sounds really good. I'm really surprised to hear that two dudes hanging out did something that sounds so sonically good. I mean, there's a whole longer conversation. I started to have this conversation with Matthew and Patrick yesterday, just sort of about like the guitar tone and some of the other sonics in it. But I just gotta say, I'm really surprised to hear that the recording is essentially that old.
Yeah, I mean, we did Jason Neesmith and I just this past year mixed it, and well, Will's tracks had been mixed back then, and so all I had was just the stereo tracks of his stuff already mixed, and so we basically just mixed my vocals on top of Will's music, and so it was really easy to mix it. But yeah, Jason kind of applied some of his studio magic and made it sound real good. So but yeah, it is yeah, I don't know why we never put this out. I think, Will used one of the songs
on Signal Morning.
yeah, the Breathing Universe, a different version of that without, my singing on it. And then Elf Power had done a different version of of one of the other songs, Three Seeds, on our album Creatures. And so I guess we kind of thought that since we had kind of used some of those songs for other things, that it wouldn't, be a cohesive new thing. But I don't think that's the case, because both of those versions that were used on on our other projects were totally different, so I think
Oh, for sure.
it's cool and it's kind of cool. I always love hearing different versions of songs anyway, so it's just kind of like alternate reality versions of both of those songs.
Well, yeah, and especially with the time period, these versions predate those other two versions.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about that because we just talked to Kevin Sweeney and Derek about the Sunshine Fix first full length, and how that to me was kind of this really creative time for E6 stuff, especially in Athens, with kind of the Olivias kind of coming to a halt and Will and Bill kind of doing their own things. And of course, L Power was very busy during that time, putting out lots of music and constantly touring and stuff. Tell us a little bit about kind of the mindset of maybe Will at that time. I know Will was constantly making music and art and stuff, but since you guys lived together, where was everybody's head at that time? Because these songs are really, like, Rudy's saying, they're pretty vibrant and timeless sounding.
Yeah, well, thanks. That's some kind words you had there, Patrick. But I mean, I just remember that moving into the house there, I remember my rent was $110 a month. It was like incredibly cheap to live there. And that was for 2 rooms. So yeah, I mean, we were both touring a lot. And so, making some money doing that. And so neither of us were really working regular jobs that much. So when we were both home, we had a lot of time to spend on recording. And so, we'd be working on our own projects, but then we, had time to overlap a little bit and do this project as well. So yeah, I think we just, had free time. And in those days, everybody was just recording constantly. I mean, that's all we ever did, really. So churning out a bunch of stuff. And yeah, these songs just kind of somehow just kind of fell through the cracks a little bit. But I felt like after Will passed away, I just thought that they should see the light of day, and that people would appreciate them. And yeah, people seem to like them. I was a little worried that it would be, because they're very short songs, so I think there's like under 7 minutes of music total. So I was a little worried when we were that we would put out this 10-inch, and the 10 inches were not cheap to make. And so we're kind of selling them for the same amount that you would like an LP, just because of the cost. And
Right.
a little worried that people would think it was a little unsubstantial because it's such a short amount of music. But I think the songs are all they are short, but they are each fully realized songs. And if people think it's too expensive, they don't have to shell out the money.
No, this is a beautiful artifact.
And I think the whole point of, I mean, maybe not the whole point of releasing something like this, is to the imagining of what else could have been.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel like it, like with it, like, man, if we only, I wish there was 8 more songs, but there's not. And so this is just kind of a little glimpse of what, what could have been.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have had a full album, but I'm thankful that I have this.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful listen, and it's it's a snapshot of that period of time.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that.
And I think it's very cool too that, I think since the first time that we spoke on the podcast and just knowing you and speaking to you other times, you were not always like that confident in you as a vocalist, but how incredible is it that a friend kind of was like, here's this music, like put vocals on it and write melodies and to come to you as a lyricist and a vocalist to collaborate. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love, obviously love all of Will's music, and so yeah, I mean, we collaborated other times, like, he would perform on Elf Power songs and I would record on Olivia and Circulatory songs, but this was I guess this was the only time that we really did a totally kind of 50-50 collaborative project. And so yeah, I wish we had done more, but it is what it is, and I'm glad that these songs exist, even though there's only a few of them.
Who came to the decision for the album art? How did you guys pick out the specific paintings that you used for the album art? Because I always love Will's art, but these are inspired choices for the album art. It's beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I just asked Kelly what she had. Obviously I thought, Will's artwork was always a big part of the Olivia and Circulatory releases. So I mean, obviously, I felt like that I wanted to use one of Will's paintings for this, and she just kind of gave me a few choices, and that one painting I really liked. Yeah, Kelly actually gave me the painting after the record came out, which I thought was really sweet of her. So
that's awesome.
Got that hanging up in my house right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I don't think I'd ever seen that painting. I don't think that's in Will's book or anything. So
no, it's not. Yeah, it was kind of a more recent one, I think.
That's very cool. And I think it kind of fits the, I don't know when, of course, Will's seems like his art kind of went through different stages of more cubist stuff to more lavish, like the black foliage stuff, and then what went into the circulatory stuff. Living with him, what do you think he was doing more, painting or painting sound?
I mean, when I lived with him, he was doing more recording, and yeah, I mean, he would paint a good bit then as well. But yeah, he's definitely in his super obsessive recording all the time period then, where he would kind of stay up all night, and yeah, he was just kind of cranking out tons of recording at the time.
Oh, I can imagine. You said this was what, like 99 to 2001?
Yeah.
Yeah, so coming off of Black Foliage, and preparing the first Circulatory System album.
Yeah.
Which to me seems incredible that, like, to me, Black Foliage was such a dense, really kind of going for the fences kind of release. To me, as somebody who tries to be creative a lot, that seems like one might need a vacation after something like
that. Yeah.
And you, I mean, you as well. I mean, I think that was you put out 3 or 4 records in a 5 year period there as well.
Yeah.
That you guys had the opportunity and were kind of not being lazy about the opportunity of having, cheap rent and young, healthy minds and hearts and creative selves that you guys were doing it. You can look back on that with some pride, I would think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because how old were you around this time? Late 20s?
Let's see. I would have been like 27. Yeah, 27 to 29-ish, something like that. Yeah.
You're making it count.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you guys like listening to in the house around then?
Oh gosh, I mean, what Will liked, lots of Royal Trucks in the Fall and Beach Boys and just all kinds of obscure 60s stuff. I remember listening to the Pretty Things, SF Sorrow with Will around that time and just all kinds of stuff. Will was also he was kind of into some of the kind of gnarlier punk stuff. I remember there was this compilation that we liked from Alternative Tentacles Records called Let Them Eat Jelly Beans. It was kind of like a Ronald Reagan reference. Yeah, and I remember Will really liked this song on there by Flipper called Ha 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 that was really cool, and he liked this Bad Brains song Pay to Come that was on there. So that first song on the Will and I's EP, Treasures in the Magic Hole, is kind of, I feel like that's Will's like punk rock kind of the punk rock influence kind of Will kind of coming out a little bit more. So it was a little more fast and aggressive than a lot of his music that he normally created. And I'd like to think that it was kind of influenced by us listening to some of that kind of hardcore punk stuff around that time.
It's definitely makes sense to me, because one of the things that strikes me about the EP is that while all 4 songs sort of have a similar vibe, they are different like genres essentially, and like with like say the first song being kind of a more aggressive, fast-paced sort of thing, and then the final song being kind of like a more mellow sort of folky thing. I mean, it just made me wonder like over how much of a time period were these songs recorded, and I guess it just sort of makes sense that you were both listening to a wide variety of stuff, and that's where the influences come from.
Yeah, yeah. Will had recorded those instrumentals over the course of 3 or 4 years, but I did all of my vocal stuff in just like a couple days. So really saying that it was recorded between that time, between those 3 years, is mostly just saying that Will did a lot of his stuff off and on during that time. But and then he gave it to me, and then my contributions were done in a pretty short amount of time. So
Yeah, and I love that sonically, and you have done this too with Elf stuff. Some of that punk rock or that hardcore maybe influence comes through production wise, but maybe not so much in style of song. Some of that heavier stuff that maybe
yeah, yeah.
is in there, but is maybe not so, waving the flag of it, but it gets there. We were having a great conversation yesterday about some of our favorite direct input guitar stuff and knowing that we were going to talk to you. And, like your utilization of that in your catalog has made, some real heavy moments. And this EP kind of has some of that element too, especially with that first song.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if Will was recording. I mean, I know he did a lot of direct guitar directing as well, like I like to do around that time. But so yeah, I wasn't really in the room while Will was recording that stuff, so I don't know. But it certainly sounds like it to me that that's what he did.
Yeah, and it's cool.
It seems like my whole contention yesterday when we were having this conversation is that I'm actually sort of a little bit of an aficionado on direct
Uh-huh.
input guitar, but not necessarily, but more in sort of like, I guess, the punk sort of ethos. Like to me, the greatest direct input sounding guitar is on Zen Arcade by
Oh
Who's to
yeah,
Do.
yeah.
And I think the sound of the guitar, direct input guitar on this particular EP is at the same level. It's just really good. It doesn't sound like it doesn't like, because sometimes direct input can sound a little trashy. This sounds very, very intentional, and like we're gonna try to make this sound the best it can. It's like a feel from it. For me, it's like because Patrick was getting into like, well, ELO did this and did that. I think the big difference is in this, the guitar is really carrying a lot of it, whereas ELO is amazing, but it's like a pastiche of stuff. It's a collection of ingredients that are making the final recipe. Whereas this, it's like the guitar is so good sounding, it carries a lot of these really cool short songs.
Hey, Andrew, before you answer, know that I sent him Icy Hands Will Never Melt Away after I sent him ELO, so you're in good company.
Yeah.
And I ranked Icy Hands higher than ELO, so
that's high praise. Yeah, I didn't know that. I guess I didn't know that Husker Du's in Arcade was a direct input guitar, but now that you say it, it definitely sounds. It's got that weird kind of trebly, squiggly, kind of glassy, slightly affected sound that just sounds real unique and unnatural in a good way, you know? So that kind of.
Yeah, my understanding is that like the first 3, 4 Husker Du records, it was Bob Mould played direct into the mixing board, but I want to say an MXR distortion pedal, but I could be wrong. Just a cheap distortion pedal and just tweaking the knobs a little bit to EQ it the right way.
Yeah, it's a great sound. I mean, it sounds crappy in the best way, you know.
Yeah, it can make even a digital computer, it can give it that little 4-track. And then maybe that's just because I've heard so many like 4-track, 8-track analog recordings with direct input guitar, but even just it's a different sound digitally, but it's still, you still have that oversaturated. There's something synthetic about it that is so cool, you know.
Yeah.
Even in a digital world. Were these songs recorded analog, or was there a digital element to it, even in kind of 99 to 2001?
I think that Will did some of it on 4-track cassette, but then I think he had his digital 8-track, or maybe he had this digital 16-track for a while. Maybe I can't remember which machine he was using at that time, but yeah, so I think he would do 4-track cassette and then throw it onto the digital machine and kind of add tracks to it. I think that was kind of his methodology at the time.
Did you hold on to these recordings forever?
Yeah, I put them on my digital 8-track that I bought in 1999, so I had it there when I was living with him. and they were still, I just kept them on that hard drive, and I still use that machine to this day, and they were still just on there from when Will gave them to me. So yeah, luckily that machine didn't crap out over the years, and it's still still I just kind of, yeah, it wasn't the wisest just to have them on there and never have, done a digital transfer, because yeah, I don't know if Kelly would have been able to lay her hands on the, you know, on those tapes at this point, but
I'm sure that would take some real archaeology
yeah.
to to dig down to that level. Yeah.
Now, I know that all three of us, Matthew, Rudy, and I, are parents, but as a parent, I want to say what great job you did taking care of your baby there. That digital 8-track, wow, that it's never like farted out on you is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's pure luck, I think, but
Because I would have spilled something on it, or a thunderstorm would have blasted it away.
yeah.
This might be a sacrilege, but what like for me, like I love lo-fi recordings, but I'm not a huge fan of the hiss. So hearing that it's potentially recorded digitally makes sense. Like I'm not one of the people that loves the hiss sound element of lo-fi, and this it has that vibe of lo-fi, but none of the hiss, which maybe that's why it sounds so good to me. I don't know.
Yeah, there was some hissy moments, but Jason was able to get most of those out of there. So yeah, I think it sounds good.
Was there ever any thought, because of these recordings and with a new Olivia's record on the horizon, that some of this could be used for that or not?
Yeah, actually, Jason and I did talk about that, because Jason is kind of, helming he's kind of in charge of trying to finish up this Olivia record. But we did kind of have that discussion, but I think we just kind of thought that since, that wasn't something that was ever discussed with Will, we thought that these would just be better to kind of be their own thing. Especially it would be weird to have songs with me
Yeah.
singing on them on an Olivia record. I think, it just wouldn't quite fit.
I mean, I love that it's
Yeah.
its own thing, but it fit when you were the narrator on the gay parade, so I don't know why it wouldn't fit
Yeah,
on
yeah,
on
maybe.
Olivia's
I don't
record.
know. I think it's good that it just I don't know. Yeah, I mean Will and Bill to me are the voices, and I guess Pete had a song here and there where he would sing lead, but to me it's like a little, it would feel a little sacrilegious to insert me as a lead vocalist on an Olivia record.
I get that.
Sonically, though, that's one thing. Of course, I really loved about it. Once I knew that it was happening, when I saw the time period that it was made, I was very excited because I just think musically, Will, from Black Foliage to that early Circulatory System record, was really kind of working. And it goes to what Rudy is saying, how these songs sound way more modern. He was kind of working years ahead of his time,
Yeah.
just with the depth of what is possible
Yeah.
with recording.
Yeah. No, his recording techniques are really what drove me to be obsessed with Elephant Six back when I discovered you guys back in the
Yeah.
late 90s. I had just never heard anything like because it is punk rock, but it's also it's so there's so much happening, and it all flows together in a way that I never imagined anyone being capable of doing. It all creates a picture. It creates a painting of sound.
I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, just listening to it and listening to you talk, Andrew, it's like, I've messed around with 4 tracks before and all of that, but like there is always sort of an element of experimentation when you're just like working on something alone, and maybe you might turn it into something else with a band or whatever. But it's getting me excited about the idea of like, hey, I want to go, even though I have like an all right setup at my house with a DAW and all that, it makes me want to just go out and get some sort of cheap 4-track and see what I can come up with. Just because I think there's something about the medium that it enhances, it encourages experimentation a little bit more than that. So I don't know, just hearing you talk about all this stuff it's getting me pumped up. I'm not going to say that I'm going to do anything as awesome as this EP, but I can certainly have fun trying.
Yeah, I mean, Will's and Will and Bill, their recordings techniques were just so influential on me. I mean, it was when I first met those guys, we had both they had recorded their first singles, and Elf Power had done Vainly Clutching at Phantom Limbs, and we traded. We realized we were kind of two of the only people in Athens that were doing home recording at the time, and we traded records and realized that we were kind of kindred spirits, kind of, both doing a lot of home recording. And so it was really inspirational to meet other people in town that were doing that at such a high level. And yeah, man, Olivia, just their influences were, I mean, you could definitely hear the influences of like Music Concrete or the Beatles or the Beach Boys, but I mean, there's a lot of bands when you hear influences that are that obvious, they're just kind of ripping people off. But for them, it was just it felt completely original, even though you could hear the influences. They did it in such a cool way. It wasn't like, Oasis doing just this kind of Beatles ripoff. It was, you could hear the Beatles in Olivia's music, but they did it and they took it to just a completely original place,
Mm-hmm. And I think the one thing that's different about Olivia's, and again, I'm going to compare my two favorite bands here, the Olivias and the Beatles, is I think the juxtaposition of the maximalism and the avant-garde sparseness combined together to make something really whole, I guess. I mean, the Beatles, they weren't Stockhousing it or John Caging it. I mean, they did really weird things with, Revolution 9 or Carnival of Light, or, moments of things, but they never had that sparseness that Olivia's had that kind of took the edge off of the maximalism, at least on like Foliage or something. And I think that I love that juxtaposition in music, and that was unique to them.
I think a lot of that does come down to Will's love for punk rock. I never imagined when I first got into this stuff that Will was influenced as heavily by punk as he was. But he loved the Misfits. He loved the Dead Kennedys and all of that. And you can feel that coming through in just the approach to the music. I actually remember one time, I'm sure everybody knows that I irritate everyone by just posting a picture of every single record I listen to. So I had posted a picture of Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables, the Dead Kennedys album, and Kelly must have been like scrolling through her phone next to Will, and Will made her tell me how much he loves that album as he saw her doing that.
Yeah.
Why not try breathing along with the universe?
Andrew, I noticed online that you've had a pretty good musical week. You've seen Stereolab, baseball project. What's influencing you these days? And it's nice that you're getting out to see shows. And how is upcoming Elf's record coming?
Yeah, well, yeah, there was just a lot of good shows in town this week. Yeah, I saw the baseball project, which, is like Mike Mills and Peter Buck from REM, along with some of the folks from Dream Syndicate. And yeah, that was fun. John Hill from the Apples is tour managing them, so I got to hang out with John a bit that night. And
awesome.
That was a fun show. And then I saw Camper Van Beethoven doing the 40th anniversary of their album Telephone Free Landslide Victory. So they played that album in its entirety, which was really cool. I actually teach with David Lowery, the singer of Camper Van Beethoven, at the UGA's music business program. So we share an office together. So that's kind of cool because they were.
Oh, you share an office with them? That's awesome.
So they were one of my favorite bands as a kid. So
that reissue of Camper Van Beethoven, that's on my list of things to buy when I'm not when I'm not as broke as I am at the moment. So yeah, no, I'm really excited to get that new reissue in as well because that looks beautiful.
Yeah, it sounded great the other night. I mean, it was really cool to see that. And then last night I saw Stereolab, which one of my favorite bands from the '90s. Will love them as well, and really good British band opening for them last night. This band called Memorials that was just this kind of weird two-piece that did kind of a mix of like pop and more avant-garde stuff and almost like free jazz. But yeah, so yeah, it just happened to be a week where I saw a lot of good music. So that's.
This is such a weird but also like perfectly makes sense conversation where we're talking about obviously the stuff that you and Will did, Stereo Lab, and then Dead Kennedys and Camper Van Beethoven, whom I would say was very different, but it's like it feels like my listening when I was like 17, 18 years old is like I listened to some really heavy stuff, and then I also listened to this like sort of weird folky Camper Van Beethoven type stuff and was getting into like keyboards and old synths and stuff at the time. I predated Stereolab, but it wasn't much later. But it feels like a flashback to me, and it fits with the EP so much. Just sort of all those influences are there. You have to look for them a little bit, but that's the vibe, is a mixture of all these things. It definitely feels like, I think one of the elements of like 4-track or 8-track recording is that it's like a sketchbook in a lot of ways, more so than when you go into a studio, you have to have everything all together. Like, we're just going to play and see what happens. Here's an idea I have for a song. Let's see what happens. And it's 4 really good examples of when everything goes right, what it's like.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think Olivia did a tour with Stereolab at one point, so I know that they knew each other a little bit. I can't remember where or when, but I'm pretty sure that they did do a tour together at some point.
So how is that Elf record coming? We got to go back to it.
I was just gonna say, like, you're not getting out of this. What's coming next? I know he asked the question.
Good. Yeah, good. We've been recording a lot and writing a lot, and there's like about 15 songs in various forms of completion, and we're
Awesome.
keeping on writing. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably try to record maybe 18 or 20 songs and then take the best ones. So yeah, it's going along. We're getting together tomorrow and doing some more recording. So we're working on it a lot, but it's not going to be finished real soon, but hopefully, before too long.
I'm just happy to hear it's being worked on.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is like the 15th album, so we're not like in any. I don't want to just rush out another album, So I think we're just kind of taking our time with it and just gonna make the best thing that we can, and it'll come out when it comes out. But yeah, hopefully not too terribly long. It'll be out.
Awesome. I have a since you're a David's office mate, I have a hilarious story about him. One time, and of course this is magical for me, but I think it had to be in January of 2012. Poison Control Center's booking agent got a call from a guy in Iowa City who books venues there, and that Camper Van Beethoven was looking for equipment to use on a tour, for like a 3 or 4 day tour that was going to be Cracker and Camper Van Beethoven. And I don't know how it happened, but all of a sudden they kind of asked if Poison Control Center wanted to open for us on this like 4 or 5 day tour. Some shows were Cracker and Camper Van Beethoven, some were just Camper Van Beethoven. And of course, we're like losing our shit, right? And so of course we're like, I mean, we were kind of done. We weren't an active band, but we're like, yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
And so everybody, but the thing was, the deal was that Camper Van Beethoven had to use our equipment, right?
Right.
And so whatever, they're flying into Iowa City to start this tour, and David's going to use my twin reverb. Now, of course, we just told him, it's like, well, it's like a 72 blackface twin reverb. And I'm sure he was like, that'll do. But mind you, my twin reverb had, I don't know how many knobs are on a normal twin reverb, 8 maybe, you know,
Yeah.
and mine had 4 maybe.
Yeah.
You may have dropped it a few
And
times.
so, or it's been kicked over or something. And so they had a guy with them that was doing like their tech stuff. And he had taken a blue painter's tape underneath, and it was like, he had put like an 8 on the treble, a 7, and a, whatever. And then it was just question mark, But I, standing out in the audience, listening to my amp come off those Camper Van Beethoven songs, I was like, holy shit, somehow they've made my amp sound 100 times better than it has ever sounded. And so still to this day, whatever, 15 years later, I still have that blue piece of tape
That's awesome.
in my amp because I could just see his face being like, oh shit. I have to play with that for the next few nights, and it sounded incredible. Whatever they did to make it sound the way it is, I've like never changed it. I'm just like, that's the way I want my amp to sound.
He had the correct person touring with him that could figure that out for sure.
It reminds me, like, going back to the EP, just sort of like, it sounds like, oh yeah, this is something that Andrew Rieger and Will Hart probably did together. It makes sense if you tell me that's who made this, but it's not exactly the same as any of the bands any of you have been in. It reminds me of a story. I know a guy who's like a virtuoso, sort of like ripper in terms of playing guitar, and he went to a guitar show, and there was some old guy playing a rolling jazz chorus, which is an amp that this guy happens to hate. I'm fine with it, but he hates them. So, and he was just like, wow, that guy's really good. It sounds awesome. It kind of sounds like Jeff Beck. And then somebody's like, oh, that is Jeff Beck, which kind of just goes back to the idea of like, yeah, sure, amps and the recording method and all that make a difference, but ultimately you sound like you. And I think this EP sounds like both of you, very much blended together, but yet different at the same time.
That's
Thanks.
very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, Jimi Hendrix is going to make a crappy guitar still sound better than I can 5,000.
Yeah.
Now, Andrew, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the new rules of podcasting that just came out, but we have to have all new guests do 2.5 minutes where they talk about the glory of Donald Trump.
Oh no.
So, okay, all right, I'm kidding.
No, I mean you kid, but I mean a year from now that might not be true. So we'll see.
Yeah. We do have somebody coming on to talk about an Elf Power record, though. I don't know if you know that. So
Jimmy Hughes is going to come on and talk about In a Cave.
Oh yeah, Jimmy told me that. Yeah.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Awesome.
He asked me. He was like, "Do you care if He thought that I might not want him to do it, and I was like, "Sure, of course, do it." I mean, yeah. I love that album. So and Jimmy was a big part of it. So I'm curious to see what Jimmy has to say about it.
Yeah, no, he actually chose that specific album because he has a lot of fond memories of making it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I miss Jimmy. He left Athens a long time ago, but I don't get a chance to see him that much these days. So yeah, he's a good friend, but yeah, I miss him.
I love that it doesn't matter, what group you put behind you with Elf Power, and I think we talked about this a little bit before. It always has the Elf Power vibe, which I think is exciting. So whatever group of people that you have behind you or with you, you've made this like catalog of really important, great sounding music. And I know that Jimmy, just talking to him as a friend or a musician or whatever, he really valued that time. And I love how, even though he's not playing a lot of music right now, he's still being very creative in different ways and stuff like that with film stuff and toys, making toys and being a cool dad and stuff like that. So I'm excited to talk to him about his time in Elf Power.
Yeah, his action figures are something else, man. I've got a couple that in my collection that he made. I've got one that's Robert Smith from The Cure,
Yep.
from like the Head on the Door album where they're wearing kind of the green fluorescent makeup. And I've got a Jandek action figure that he made. I mean, he just makes
That one was great too. Yep.
these ridiculous figures, and I'm just like, I gotta have one of those. So yeah, I've got a couple of his specialty figures.
I love the half centaur, half horse, which is just a full horse.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That is incredible. As far as the new Elves record is, are you kind of doing it in ways that you've done other ones, or are you, is there some sort of new element that we can be excited about?
Tell us about all the hip hop that you've added.
Yeah, no raps on this album. Yeah, maybe I'll have to devise some rap breaks.
Last time we talked, you were talking about you've always kind of maybe wanted to make a dub record or something.
Yeah, in theory I would, but yeah, maybe that'll be the next one. We'll see. I mean, yeah, I've always kind of had these harebrained schemes of doing like genre records. Like I'd like to make a dub record. I'd like to make a heavy metal record. Everybody's doing country records these days, so I'll skip that one, even though I am a country music fan. But yeah, it would be fun to just do a series of like genre exercises. But I don't know. I feel like they might come off a little forced. But
Well, that's very possible, but you don't have to release them under the Elf Power name.
that's true.
And you could do them as a side project, and then that forced feeling won't really be there, because it won't feel like you're trying to shove a new genre into an existing project.
Yeah.
It'll feel like just an experimentation.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, maybe I'll do it. We'll see.
I would love to hear you pick whatever instead of an Elf Power greatest hits or something. You pick 12 of your favorite tunes to play, and then you do each of them in a different whatever. You pick the genre out of a hat, like alt country,
Yeah.
and then it's like doing whatever, Embrace the Crimson Tide as like an alt country song or something.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I could rip off the idea. Have you ever heard the Turtles album, Battle of the Bands?
Love that one.
Where the idea is that they're a different band is playing each song. Yeah,
I love that.
could do kind of rip that idea off maybe.
But I just think there's, like, do you think you'll ever put out I mean, I only ask because Pavement's put out 6 different compilation albums of their same 10 greatest hits
Yeah.
in the past 10 years, which, they're one of my favorite bands, so it's okay. They can do that.
Yeah.
But have you ever thought about putting out like a compilation of tracks for Elf Power?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, greatest hits compilations are just kind of a thing of the past, but maybe I was thinking of making, since these days so many, at least younger people, discover music via streaming services, I was thinking of maybe making just like best of playlists for Spotify and for Apple Music and stuff like that, just for if people are just kind of first discovering the band. And
I agree. I think that's a good idea. Personally, I avoid greatest hits albums like they're the plague.
Yeah.
Because I like to listen to a complete story. I consider an album like a novel. I don't want to put on an audiobook and listen to 7, disparate chapters of different novels. I want to listen to the novel.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I like hearing an album the way that people presented it. But yeah, I mean, like Patrick, you were saying Pavement has had success with kind of doing stuff like that. And it's funny, I've got a side story about Pavement since you brought him up. I was at the Camper Van Beethoven show the other night. This guy walked by and I was like, man, that guy looks like Bob Nastanovich from Pavement. But I was like, of course that's not him, but that's just some other kind of middle-aged indie rocker guy. And then I saw Jason Neesmith post a picture on social media of like, hey, I ran into Bob Nastanovich at the camper show, and I was like, it was him. And so then I saw Jason last night, and I was like, I thought that I saw that guy, and I was like that looks like him, but certainly that's not him. And yeah, Jason was saying that he lives in Macon now, and so
So he's real
so he
close.
comes up here to see shows fairly regularly. So yeah, but that was kind of so next time I see him, I'll have to chat with him. But yeah, it was just funny. I just was like, that looks like him, but certainly that's not him, you know.
Bob used to live in Des Moines for a long time. So if like anything, if you buy Bob a beer, he'll be on the next
Yeah.
Al Power record.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually. Get him to
Doing whatever you want.
come over
Screaming.
next time. Yeah.
I think it would be cool, like going back to the greatest hits thing. I growing up in a time where whatever CDs and records and cassettes were the only thing you could get music on. I can remember finding out about whatever Bob Dylan in my dad's car because he had Bob Dylan Greatest Hits Volume 1 and the Bee Gees having that like Best of the Bee Gees, that yellow one where it's like all their early stuff.
Yeah.
So to me, like you're saying, like somebody who's like, whatever, 15-year-old kid who might have a hard time with the ability of paying attention to a whole record or a whole 15 album catalog, there might be an opportunity to use a compilation as a gateway drug.
Yes.
And I love, like whatever, like what Tom Petty or, I can remember watching that Tom Petty movie and like Mary Jane's Last Dance was for the greatest hits thing. And he's like, well, how can I put a song on my greatest hits that hasn't been written yet? But his record label really wanted him to have 2 new songs. And I think even REM did that when they put out their like greatest hits for Warner or something. They had to have a couple new songs. So there's still a need for maybe compilations for people, especially with their attention spans these days.
Now I love the way that Olivia Tremor Control put out their compilation because it is those albums. It's those albums that most people can't get their hands on because they were only released as 7 inches, back to back with each other, and then you get all of the singles that came out in that time period after that.
I think like singles compilations like that are a different beast than just like a greatest hits. Like the Olivia one obviously is great, and like the Buzzcocks Singles Going Steady was an album that I really liked a lot growing up, but it's not. I mean, it almost is like a greatest hits because it's all their best songs, but yeah, it is. It's different if it's a singles compilation and not just kind of the most popular songs off each album.
I personally love greatest hits compilations and just straight up rarity compilations because, like, for me, it's like I can think of 5 or 6 bands that I absolutely love who I first was introduced in through a greatest hits or a compilation of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
And then, maybe I don't listen to the greatest hits or compilations, 10 years later. I've done my deep dives into the actual albums and releases and stuff, but I've fallen in love with a great many bands through their greatest hits. I think it's a great way to reach out to people. And
you're not wrong. I don't disagree with that at all. My first Doors record was a greatest hits. My first Misfits album was a greatest hits. So they have a place. Aesthetically, from like an artistic perspective, yes, I prefer a full album to the greatest hits, but yes, they certainly have purpose.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I get that. And I appreciate that a lot too. But I think sometimes you just need to get your foot in the door before you can really sort of be ready to absorb and process album's statement with whatever album.
I thought for a second there, first you were going to tell me first you need to shut the fuck up, but
no, I'll do that after the call.
Well, also,
Right,
Andrew should have maybe put one out at year 7 and then 10 and then 15, because having 15 records to choose from for a 20-song compilation would be pretty hard. At this.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine like a 15-year-old kid like now that's just discovering Guided by Voices? Like, where would you start? Like, I mean, sometimes you need a little curation to if a catalog is that vast,
I know where to start, because somebody asked what should I start with Guided by Voices, and I made them 100-song playlist.
Yeah. Well, obviously B1000 and Alien Lanes I would tell anybody just to start there and then, go any which way that you want from there. But those are the obvious starting points,
and those were 52 of the 100 songs.
Yeah.
I actually got that recent compilation that Dressy Bessie was on of Guided by Voices covers, and that's a great compilation.
Oh yeah, we were on one. I don't know if it's that same one. Yeah, I don't know.
It's not that one.
Okay.
That Matt Harnish put out?
Yeah, I guess we weren't on that one. We were on a different one. But yeah.
What song did you do?
We did what's the first song off Under the Bushes, Under the Stars? Man Called Aerodynamics. Yeah.
And I know your current drummer has played with Tobin Sprout, so it works out.
It's true, yeah. Yeah, we did
oh wow.
We did a tour. Elf Power and Tobin did a full US tour in I think 2017. Yeah, we became pretty good friends with him and his band on that tour, and they needed a drummer to fill in for a couple shows after that, and so Peter flew up and did a couple shows with them. So actually the first time we played with Tobin Sprout was in 2004, and there's a funny story that I could share with that, which was we were doing a tour and we played a show in Nashville. Laura had forgotten her keyboard stand, and the guy at the club in Nashville was like, well, here's a keyboard stand that somebody else left behind, you guys can have it. And so then about a week later, we were playing with Tobin Sprout in Toronto. His keyboard player was lamenting that he had left his keyboard stand at the club in Nashville. And Laura was like, is it this one? He was like, yeah, that's it. So you
guys didn't hide it?
No, we gave it back. But it was just funny that we had picked up unknowingly their keyboard stand and then had to give it back to him.
United States Customs was all pissed that the Tobin Sprout brand came back with something that they didn't go in with, and pissed that you guys left something in Canada.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that though. And that's the beautiful thing about indie rock when you're out on tour. It's like you probably want to be seeing all the bands that you keep seeing posters for at the same clubs over time and time. And then you can finally, when you do meet up and you get to have that show together, it's like a nice, culmination of like, oh, we've been seeing Tobin Sprout posters and everywhere we play. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Don't Bother Wearing Seatbelts will be back in 2 weeks to speak to the Ladybug Transistor about their iconic release, The Albemarle Sound. It's another great episode freed from behind the paywall for you to enjoy. And yes, we have tons of new conversations to share with you also, but this one is too good to not share now. Until we talk in your ears again, be sure to listen to great music and do what brings you joy, as well as fulfillment.
Just a minute before the alarm, in the morning when I hear them talk, piled in your hall.